A NASCAR Cup Series driver just told the world that standing on a rooftop in Nashville made him more nervous than anything he's ever felt behind the wheel at 180 miles per hour. Not a wreck, not a tight battle for position on the final lap, a headset and a radio. Zilisch just flipped the script on his entire professional relationship. And what happened at Nashville this weekend is one of the most quietly fascinating stories the sport has produced in years. Here's the setup. Every Cup Series race weekend, Stefan Parsons is in Zilisch's ear. His spotter, his eyes above the track, the voice that tells him when he's clear and when he's not. It's one of the most trust-dependent relationships in motorsports. This weekend at Nashville Superspeedway for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race, those roles flipped completely. Parsons climbed into the number 4 Motorsports truck for his first start of the season, and Zilisch, he climbed to the roof. Rookie Cup driver, veteran spotter, one race, complete role reversal. And the whole thing got delayed by rain, which gave Zilisch extra time standing up there on that roof, thinking about what he'd signed up for. To understand why this story lands the way it does, you need to know who Stefan Parsons is. Because this isn't just any spotter-driver duo swapping jobs for the weekend. Parsons carries serious motorsports bloodlines. His father Phil won in the Cup Series. His uncle Benny Parsons was the 1973 NASCAR Cup champion. Stefan grew up inside this sport. He knows what a race weekend looks and feels like from every angle, and he chose to put a young Cup Series driver, one who openly admitted he might not be the best person for the job, in the chair that controls his afternoon. That tells you something about what Zilisch has built in a short time. Trust like that doesn't come from talent alone. It comes from character. Nashville also adds a layer here. This is Kyle Busch's track in a lot of ways. The tributes have already started flowing at the Superspeedway this weekend. The fact that Zilisch is up on that roof spotting while also scheduled to broadcast the next day and race on Sunday means he walked into one of the most emotionally loaded weekends on the calendar and chose to make himself as useful as possible in every direction. Let's be real about what's actually happening here, because the surface story is fun, but the strategic layer is what makes it genuinely interesting. Spotting is not a glamour job. It's a high-pressure, rapid-fire communication role that demands calm under chaos. You're processing traffic, calculating gaps, reading crashes before they develop, and delivering all of that through a radio in short, clear bursts, while the person on the other end is making split-second decisions at speed. One hesitation, one garbled call, and a race day can turn sideways fast. Zilisch stepping into that role for an active competitor, someone whose result actually matters, is a genuine professional risk. He even acknowledged it publicly, which takes a certain kind of self-awareness. He said he felt more exposed up on that rooftop than he does inside a car. And that admission is actually the most impressive part of this whole story. Here's why drivers who become great long-term are usually the ones who develop a complete understanding of every element around them. The ones who only ever know what the car feels like from the inside tend to hit walls in their development, sometimes literally. Zilisch at 20-something years old is actively seeking out discomfort, putting himself in positions where he can fail visibly, and doing it in front of cameras on a major race weekend. That's not a PR stunt. That's a competitor building a complete picture of his sport. The risk is real though. If Zilisch makes an error that costs Parsons his race, a missed call on a restart, a late warning on a closing car, that's a story with a rough ending. Trust takes time to build and seconds to damage. Both men are carrying something on the line this weekend. Racing fans tend to appreciate this kind of story precisely because it doesn't happen very often. The sport has its rituals and its hierarchies, and watching those get quietly disrupted, not in a controversy way, but in a genuine human way, creates the kind of moment people actually talk about in the garage and in the comment section. Zilisch asking the broadcast not to make too much fun of him before his spotting debut is the kind of line that sticks. It's honest without being self-deprecating to the point of weakness. It shows a young driver who has the confidence to be publicly imperfect, that plays well with an audience that is increasingly tired of scripted, managed athlete personalities. The media angle around this weekend is also pulling double duty. With Zilisch planning to broadcast on Saturday and race on Sunday, he's positioned himself as genuinely curious about every dimension of the sport. That's an angle the coverage can't ignore. Zilisch guides Parsons to a clean, competitive run, top 10, maybe better. No major miscues on the radio, no incidents that trace back to a spotting error. Parsons gets his result, Zilisch gets a layer of experience that quietly pays dividends when he's deep in a championship run in 2 or 3 years, and he finally understands exactly what his own spotter is processing on every lap. The relationship between these two gets stronger, and the sport gets a story worth telling. A chaotic restart, a tight pack situation, or a quick caution creates a moment where communication breaks down. Parsons makes a move based on incomplete information, and the race day unravels. Nothing catastrophic, but the kind of outcome that follows Zilisch into his Sunday Cup race as a distraction he didn't need. Parsons is a professional and he'd handle it gracefully, but the story would carry a different ending than anyone wanted. Most drivers spend their whole careers only knowing one side of that radio conversation. Do you think spending a weekend as a spotter, broadcaster, and then a racer, all in the same 3 days, actually makes Connor Zilisch a better Cup Series driver, or is it a distraction he didn't need? That's the debate. Drop your take below. I want to hear from the people who know this sport, and if you want the kind of analysis